person exercises that right to remain silent, it can't be used against them. For that reason, we are not going to comment on whether the person has made any comments.
He's being held on suspicion of murder and hate crimes, but formal charges are likely to be filed in the next few days. Alex Stone, ABC News, Colorado Springs.
The nation's largest rail union, one of 4 labor unions to have rejected a White House brokered contract agreement, moving the country closer to a possible rail strike in early December. ABC's Rebecca Jarvis with more on the $2 billion a day a potential strike could cost the nation.
When you look at rail, it is a key part of our economy, of the transportation of things like agricultural goods, corn, wheat, soybeans, manufacturing equipment. A strike would stall all of that and seriously hit the supply chain at a key time, right before the holidays, which would then put pressure on the trucking industry.
The death toll from the earthquake in Indonesia, now 268, with more than 150 people still missing. ABC Chief Foreign Correspondent Ian Pannell.
Aid has now started to arrive in the area, though, including food, tents, blankets, and other supplies. The 5.6 magnitude earthquake hit Monday on Indonesia's main island of Java. And one of the reasons it's been so devastating is that it was relatively shallow, and in many cases the local infrastructure just isn't strong enough to withstand the kind of earthquakes that happen in this area.
A stunning loss for World Cup favorite Argentina. They fell in the first round of the World Cup, losing to Saudi Arabia. You're listening to ABC News.
Attention all business owners who rent or lease space, including storage space. Stop wasting your money paying someone else for your space. You can now save a ton of money and own your own building with the incredible Black Friday sale prices from General Steel. That's right, start saving money every month on renting space from others. Just call 888-74-STEEL to see how General Steel can help you save money. Our 50-year structural warranty buildings are custom designed for your needs and save you a ton of money. Call 888-74-STEEL.
Take it from a successful entrepreneur. If you need to expand or start a new business, you need General Steel.
Great team and the competitive pricing is the reason I went with General Steel.
Call 888-74-STEEL now, and you can get any of our popular quick construction structures, including a 40 by 60 foot building or a 50 by 100 clear span building at Black Friday savings. Call 888-74-STEEL. That's 888-747-8335. 888-74-STEEL.
Protests in Iran turning more dangerous, with police now using live rounds on demonstrators. They continued to gather, though, after the death of a woman earlier this year in the custody of Iran's so-called morality police. Pediatric hospitals across the country still struggling to keep up with all the cases of children with RSV on top of the flu and COVID. ABC News medical contributor Dr. John Brownstein also says,
"This is a concern because it's showing no signs of letting up. Hopefully, we will just have an earlier peak as opposed to a more significant peak, but the data is not suggesting that we've turned any corners just about yet."
And a California elementary school now has to give space to an after-school satanic club. ABC's Lana Moise says the group behind the club is pointing to a 2001 Supreme Court ruling that says schools cannot discriminate based on religious views.
The Satanic Temple says it's not interested in converting children to Satanism, but will focus on free inquiry and rationalism, the scientific basis for which we know what we know about the world around us. The school district sent a letter informing parents about the club, adding they do not endorse the group's activities or services. And while organizers insist they aren't teaching students anything religious, their beliefs are firm. Meetings are set to begin next month, but students will need a signed permission slip to attend.
This is ABC News.
For the latest holiday tech gifts at great prices, Staples has you covered.
I need unbeatable prices on tech for everyone on my nice list.
Staples has you covered with the hottest tech gifts at Black Friday prices. Right now, the new Apple AirPods Pro 2nd generation is just $199 with the Staples Connect app. Plus, save up to $330 off HP, Lenovo, and Asus laptops. The latest tech gifts are at Staples, the working and learning store. Offers end 11/26. Limit 1 on AirPods. AirPods sale price $229 without app offer. In-store only.
Sherry Preston, ABC News.
It's time now for My Great America with Jim and Butch, a conversation about positive things about this great country. And now here are Jim and Butch.
Well, it's a beautiful day and I feel great.
It's a beautiful day and you feel great, and you know what?
signature statement is in the morning? The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. They are new when? Every morning. Great is your faithfulness. In a world that's teetering from one side to the other, people doom scroll, they look at their news feed, and, you know, by the time they get into their day, they're depressed or they're angry or they're lathered up. There's a reason that we have scriptures like the one that says, be still and know that I am God. You know, Jim, when I find myself in some torrential downpour of other people's anger or angst or did you hear or how could they do that, and, you know, people just want to helicopter into a bad day, God keeps bringing back to me my own remembrance, verses like that. Be still and know that I am God. God is the God of the universe. I mean, when God said, let there be light, and the universe was created, and the universe as we understand it is still expanding, that's the God who intimately cares about how many hairs are on our head. He cares about the birds in the sky. He cares about every single person. And there's a sense of peace and really a sense of centeredness that comes when we realize that we are small. We're infinitesimal. 8 billion people on this planet. Terra firma, this blue orb, that when they look at it, the astronauts, it's this blue orb that's out there in the universe. But God cares about every single person. And how can you not feel a sense of gratitude and humility and awe? So every single day, I try not to jump into the sewage of what's out there, but to remember again who God is.
Yeah. I like to think about this is the day the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Exactly. And like Sandra Norris often tells me, it's a choice.
It is a choice.
It's a choice. In our history, what makes America great, my great America, what makes America great, one part of it are the incredibly inspiring stories of people who, against all odds, combining their faith, their tenacity, and their motivation with the miracles only God can give, you know, have these incredible stories and lives that change people forever. You look at people like Helen Keller.
Yes.
I mean, that's somebody that could have just retreated into despair and died early, but she didn't do that. I mean, you're deaf and you're dumb and you can't experience the world, the beautiful world that God's created. But you know what? In the world of her heart, she did.
She did.
And, you know, you think of all of the heroic choices that people have made through the years, and how and why they did it, Jim. And so it's our time. It's our time to step up and reflect a heart of gratitude. And Thanksgiving is a lot more than Thanksgiving turkeys and all of the like. It's we should be living Thanksgiving in our heart every single day.
I wish I could think of his name. You probably would know him if I called his name, but he has no legs and no arms.
Yes.
But he's an evangelist, travels across the country, spreading God's
and
love.
Even around the world.
Yes.
Even around the world. He has no legs and no Nick something.
Yes, it's
Nick is his first name. I can't remember.
Okay, either.
Yeah. I'm on Medicare now, so I've gotten older, but it's Nick something. And inspiring stories like that. And so we can make a choice to sit in the cesspool of our own focus, self-focus. Jim, I have found in some of the darkest places of my life, when I've reached out and said, Jesus, just ignite in me a passion for other people. It's a lot of depression and discouragement comes because we're focused on ourselves.
Yes.
When we can get out from underneath the burden of our own selfishness and focus on other people, that's one of the things that's made America great.
Yeah.
Is the ability to say, it's not about my four and no more. It's the world. It's the world around me. I'll give you a quick example. I went to get my coffee at Exxon, and that's like a little church or a little chapel for me. I go in there and just try to bring light and life and minister to people as I can. And it's incredible when you ask in your heart, you say, Jesus, help me to bring your love to somebody today. God gives many opportunities to do that. So I bumped into our friend Jesse James.
Oh, yes.
And he was there, and I said, Jesse, how you doing? You know, went up and gave him a hug. You know, and you can't care what people think in Exxon when you're hugging your friend Jesse James, you know. And so we're talking. I said, how you doing? He said, our dog had to go to the for emergency surgery this morning. And I said, really? Well, tell me more about that. Yeah, now, if you're, this is not me. It's just the Spirit of God in me. God said, stay with him for a while and talk to him, because you could tell he was kind of troubled. And we should be doing this every day, all of us, wherever we go. I said, well, what's your dog's name? He said, my dog's name is Cruiser. And I said, what kind of dog is it? He said, well, it's a miniature dachshund. And what's going on? Well, it needs surgery. They're not quite sure. And they talked about the fact it's $1,200 to get the surgery done. And I said to him, you know what? I'm going to mention this on My Great America. And we're going to encourage people, especially those that have a heart for animals, to pray for Jesse and his wife and pray for Cruiser. God cares about animals. God wouldn't have made animals if there wasn't care in his heart for them. He would have made like one kind of animal and one kind of plant, one kind of fish, but he didn't do that. So if you're somebody that has a special interest and a care for people that have animals, pray for Cruiser this morning. He's going to be getting surgery.
Well, he protected all the animals on the ark when he was a strong era. He's protected animals, so he cared about animals for sure.
Exactly. And I have often said that you could tell a lot about a person. As a matter of fact, when I would go to a new church, I would have a radar up for a couple of things. How does the pastor treat children? Are they like a bother? Just like in the New Testament when they said, don't keep the children away, and Jesus said, let the little children come. How do they treat children? How do they treat the elderly? How do they treat disabled people? And how do they, if you have the chance to observe it, how do they treat animals? And that's just a personal litmus test for me. You learn a lot about the heart and the character of a person by how they interact in all those different settings.
There's a song in the old Broadman hymnal called Others, Lord, Yes, Others, Let This My Motto Be. We think about others and pray for others more so than ourselves. I don't know if that song is even sung anymore, but it's in the old Broadman hymnal.
Right.
Others, Lord, yes, others.
Exactly. And while I'm not a Baptist, you and I have talked about this before, I do know that Broadman is like the publishing arm of the Southern Baptists.
No, it changed the name to the Baptist hymnal.
Oh, the Baptist hymnal.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I guess they became Broadman and Holman.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, Broadman and Holman. Well, it's interesting, that word others, which is what we're talking about, and it's what's made America great. I mean, for example, foreign aid, food aid, medical aid. I mean, through America's history, soon after we became a republic, there was this rich tradition that exists to this day of philanthropy, of giving. You know, last year I think it was about $480 billion that was given philanthropically in the United States, charitable giving. Disproportionate amount of that is actually given for religiously oriented causes, but it's for everything, the arts, the environment, and all those things. Do you realize Americans gave charitably last year more than, or close to, or it may be even a little bit more, than the entire gross domestic product of the nation of Israel, their entire economy. So we have a rich tradition of giving, philanthropy, engagement, volunteerism here in the United States, and I believe it's one of the things that God has really honored. I also believe, and I've said this before, that one of the things God has tremendously honored is America's commitment, especially in recent decades, to the nation of Israel. Yes. You know, with the belief of that Genesis 12:3 is true. I'll bless those who bless you. I'll curse those who curse you. So what makes America great? Well, these are principles that are embedded in the bedrock of who we are as a nation.
Absolutely, great.
Now, I'll tell you real quickly a couple of things. We've got a groundbreaking today.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, so it's 3:30 to 5, and it's there off of Porus Ford Road. You know, one other thing that makes America great is when you get different parties coming together around a common purpose. And so, you know, the Broad River Water Authority, Town of Spindale, County Commissioners, Property Works, which is a new division we've announced, of Freight Works, which we've talked about often on this program. Number of folks from the community all coming together today. I think we'll have maybe 130, 140 people. It wasn't a community event. It was targeted. All coming together for the groundbreaking of a Love's. Now, I had lunch with Chris Francis yesterday, our exiting sheriff, and you know what a great man. I mean, his word is his bond. He's straight up. he always looks good, too. And we had a wonderful, I'm going to use the word precious, conversation. But he said something that was really interesting. He had never been to a Love's before. But in anticipation of the Love's coming to Rutherford County, right there at 74 and 221, he said he went to a Love's and he was very excited. So for those of you that are unaware, next August, I think you'll be able to roll into a Love's right there. So some people have asked me, tell us a little bit about Love's. Well, I can tell you that it was founded in 1964. Tom and Judy Love. That was their name, because some people have asked, why did they pick that name? Was it a marketing ploy? And it wasn't. It was Tom and Judy Love. They have, as of a couple of years ago, over $21 billion in revenue. They have over 27,000 employees nationally. And Love's Travel Stops and Country Stores, they do business as Love's or stylized as Love's. It's an American-owned chain of more than 500 truck stop and convenience stores. It's in 41 states in the United States. They're headquartered in Oklahoma City. Now, Love's ranked number 17 on the 2019 Forbes list of the largest private companies in America. This is the company coming here to Rutherford County. They've got two primary kinds of stores, and there may be 4 people that are interested in this information, but I felt compelled to, they have two primary kinds of stores. The country stores are fueling stations with a convenience store attached. What we're getting is the larger travel stops. They're located along highways. We are working hard and asking God to give us some favor in this, for that 74 to be designated as an interstate. They're located along highways and offer additional amenities such as food, and from across America, these are the different kinds of food shops that they'll have in there. They have Arby's, Baskin-Robbins, Bojangles, Burger King, Chester's, Dairy Queen, Del Taco, Dunkin', Friendly's, Godfather's Pizza, Green Burrito, McDonald's, Taco John's, Subway, Taco Bell, Wendy's, Hardee's, Carl's Jr., and a growing number of others. They have trekking supplies, showers, RV dump stations, and so there's going to be a bigger version. It's going to be something that truckers in particular are so happy about, because when you look at 26, the intersection there, I'm working a truck driver, get in and get repairs and all of that. And so it's going to be a wonderful addition to our community.
What is the closest one to us now? Is that the one
in Marion? Maybe.
I'm not sure.
I think there may be one up near 40. I'm not exactly sure, but we have to look at what the county is going to be in the days ahead, and there is going to be an interstate designation. FreightWorks is becoming more intentional in some of its lobbying efforts in Raleigh and in Washington, D.C., and so we're going to work hard with God's direction to get both of our senators on board, get Virginia Fox even more on board, Patrick McHenry, now Chuck Edwards. We're trying to be very focused, working together with Brian King, who will speak today, along with Josh and some others, working with our county, the Office of Economic Development, Birgit Dilbert, and others, to make sure that we're really doing what we can to help this county be everything that it can be. And we're using the term community-informed development. It doesn't mean that anything the community wants is what will end up happening. But in the days ahead, Property Works is going to be soliciting input from the community and asking, what are some things, just like we did in a very informal way when we said, if you had your choice of a restaurant, and the calls that came in were disproportionately a Cracker Barrel.
Yes.
Why do you think people like them so much?
I think it's the country atmosphere, the nostalgia of seeing all the farm implements on the wall, and the menu, the choice of menus, country cooking. Folks love it, country cooking.
Yeah.
And the fried chicken and all those things. I just think a combination of plus the gift store, where you can buy, the ladies go in and buy dresses, blouses, skirts, all kinds of gifts for toys. It's a great variety store, I guess. But the food's generally pretty good.
Well, I had some feedback from people about my mom, Joyce Maltby, being on recently, and she loves the program. She loves you a lot.
Well, I love her.
She really does. But, she told me, she said it's so clear why people like By the way, she loves Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
She loves going to church. She loves her family supping together. And she loves watching Fox News. That's her at 90 and reading her Bible and having her devotions and all that. But she said it's real simple, Butch, why people like it. You can go to any Cracker Barrel, you know the menu, and you know you're going to get good food. And she does love to shop.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an opportunity to shop and get good food and all that. So, be praying. In the days ahead, you're going to be hearing more and more about property works. You're going to be hearing about development there at 74 and 221. Meanwhile, all across America, there are freight works trucks that are rolling across there, and they're part of the artery that we call the supply chain in America. And let's keep those drivers in our hearts, along with EMTs and policemen and airline pilot, doctors. There are a lot of folks where the calendar is the calendar. A lot of folks, it's like I get to be off for a couple of weeks, and there are many people where it's just not the case.
We're on the threshold right now of a strike with the railroad company.
Yes.
And so the truckers are very essential to us all the time, and they certainly will be more essential if the railroad goes on a strike.
Right. We just, the only thing, every single person in the world needs encouragement.
Yes.
And people like to be around encouraging people.
Yes.
Because whether they express it or not, a lot of folks lead these lives of quiet desperation. And if you claim to be a follower of Jesus, we are called to give it away. It's all about giving it away. Jim, I pray that when Jesus comes, and I want to be ready when he comes, or God takes me, I don't want to accumulate a lot of stuff. I want to give it away. I don't want a lot in my bank account. It's just, and what's really interesting is people that knew me back in the day will say to me, I don't know what happened to you, Butch. You always talked about Jesus, but what's different about you these days is that you used to have passion for causes, all kinds of causes, and I still do. But my greatest passion, there are only two assignments I have in my life, the balance of my life. Now that I'm at the point where I've got Medicare and all of that, but there are only two assignments, to know Jesus and to make him known. And life becomes very simple when you get up in the morning and say, okay, Jesus, I'm called to know you, and I'm called to take what you're teaching me and share it with other people. The gospel is all about sowing. It's all about giving it away. And when you look at our history, Jim, and people know that I'm not just a history buff, I believe that God speaks to us through his word, but he also gives us practical illustrations through the lives of people. Listen to this for a minute. I was thinking about this whole word integrity. Job 2:9 says, do you still hold fast to your integrity? William Bross, 1813-1890, was a highly successful American journalist. He was the co-publisher of the Chicago Tribune, which, of course, is an iconic paper. In an interview, he discussed his success. The question was, what maxims have had a strong influence on your life and helped you to your success? His answer, the Proverbs of Solomon and other scriptures. They were quoted 1,000 times by my honored father and caused an effort to do my duty each day under a constant sense of obligation to my Savior and fellow man. This is a journalist. He's usually asking the questions, being asked questions. Question number 2. What do you consider essential elements of success for a young man entering upon such a profession as yours? Journalism. How many journalists today would answer the way he did? This is what he said. Sterling, unflinching integrity in all matters, public and private. Let everyone do his whole duty, both to God and man. Let him follow earnestly the teachings of scriptures and eschew infidelity in all forms. How many journalists today would be able to answer that way? And then question number 3 was this. What, in your observation, have been the chief causes of the numerous failures in the life of business and other professional men? It's a poignant question. Here's his answer. William Bross, co-publisher of the Chicago Tribune, back in the mid-1800s. His answer was want of integrity, carelessness with the truth, recklessness in thought and expression, lack of trust in God, and a disregard of the teachings of his holy word, bad company, and bad morals in any of their many places. I mean, that's part of our history.
They ought to be on the wall of every journalist's office, what he said. Every newspaper, every radio, television commentator ought to be on the wall as an example to follow.
When you and I sat in Small Town Coffee and God incubated on our heart My Great America with Jim and Butch, It was primarily to keep reinforcing, to dig up the gems of our history that had been just covered over with the dirt of indifference, the sewage of attacks against the seminal nature of our nation. And Jim, we have all of these shining lights in our history of people that have been incandescent in pointing us in the direction not of their own agenda, but of what God says. And that's what has made America great. And I am not, and I know you're not, on our watch going to do anything other than keep banging the drum. I come from a rich history in the Salvation Army. My father's father, Colonel William Maltby, was the divisional commander in Metropolitan New York of the Salvation Army. He was also the bandmaster of the New York Staff Band. And, of course, the Salvation Army is known for their staff bands. My father used to play an E-flat cornet, and I actually played the cornet in the grade school band. And then Mr. Two came to me, the band instructor, and he said, "Your lips are too fat to play the cornet, so we're going to have you play the trombone." I'm not sure I've shared that with many people before, and I just did it on radio. So I had to learn the difference between the clarity of valves, where you had notes, and then you had that slide where you had to find your notes, which has really nothing to do with what I was supposed to be saying right then. But anyway, the Salvation Army, founded in 1865 over in London by Colonel William Booth. So interesting, when they brought together, and it's one of America's most trusted charities, of course, they brought together all of their territorial commanders from around the world. I may have shared this story before, and they wanted to discuss their mission statement. This was soon after their founding in 1865 over in London. And they used to go into the bars, and they would just rescue drunks and bring them to Jesus. So they sat and they talked and they talked and they talked, not unlike what happens in the Catholic Church when they're picking a new pope and the smoke comes out. But in this case, there was no smoke and there weren't bishops, just territorial commanders. Finally, they came to a conclusion of what their mission statement was going to be, and they typed it out by telegraph to places around the world, because the Salvation Army is in over 173 countries currently, and they've always had a global mission. So you had all these other people around the world wondering, what's going to be our mission going forward? And you know what the mission statement was? It was one word: others.
That makes sense.
Others. And so, in this time of year where we've got, a lot of folks that are recklessly spending and focusing on all kinds of things except the anchoring points of what our lives personally should be, what our nation ought to be. At that point, I just think it's really important for us to go back to remembering the character and the pattern of Jesus. He went about doing good. He went about delivering truth. He went around encountering needs. And the Bible is filled with so many examples. It didn't matter how desperate the situation was. Jesus was there to meet those needs and encounter what all the people, in many cases, had no hope for. And, our nation's in trouble, Jim. Yes. Our nation is in trouble. And it's not in trouble because Fox News says it's in trouble. It's not in trouble because Donald Trump says it's in trouble, or any one of a number of candidates that may run for president. We need to remember that the only way this nation will get back to a place where God wants it to be is if His people, called by His name, the living God, humble themselves and pray. And then when that happens, humility, prayer, crying out, then when that happens, God says He'll heal our land. But if we're looking for solutions in all the wrong places, we think somehow a political party or a particular candidate is going to solve all of our needs. We're water skiing over the truth that there's only one God, there's only one solution, and there's only one way. And that's what's made America great. And let's pray with our efforts that we'll continue to be great in the days ahead.
Well said. God bless America.
God bless America.
Thank you for joining us for My Great America with Jim and Butch. Join us each Tuesday and Thursday morning at 9:05 for this enlightening program on 100.9 FM and 590 AM. It's My Great America with Jim and Butch.